We talked about the big boys on the offensive side. Now we're going to talk about the big boys on the defensive side. What is up, Finn fans? Talking defensive line. Now, there are some caveats to this one. I'm going to talk about some that I'm not talking about, some that might fall in the draft, and some that I'm only doing 5. I'm doing 5. I think the Dolphins are going to focus on defensive tackle, but there is one pass rusher in there I think is good enough to throw on my list. But I would say it's 4 defensive tackles, 1 pass rush, but obviously there are some that I am going to talk about. But before we jump into that, I do have to shout out today's sponsor, and that is BetUS TV. Go check them out for your bet and odds, markets, and sports content. Go to BetUS TV. They are also on X at BetUS TV. Shout out to them for always coming in the clutch, sponsoring your boy DDW, keeping the lights on, and all that good stuff. So, I will not be talking about Abdul Carter. He's going top 3. The Miami Dolphins have no chance at getting after him, right? There are some guys on here that I'm not going to talk about, like James Pierce and Mike Williams and Shamar Stewart, who the Dolphins are actually meeting with. Nick Scorton. Nick Scorton. I almost said Scroton. What am I talking about? There's a lot of good edge rushers. Princely Uman Milan out of Mississippi. Good. Like, there's a lot of good edge rushers. There's a lot of good interior defensive linemen, especially in the later rounds, like Alfred Collins, who the Dolphins have met with, CJ West, TJ Sanders. There's a lot. I had to narrow it down. Right. And before we jump into like the meat and potatoes and I really go into it, I will not be talking about Walter Nolan. And why will I not be talking about Walter Nolan? Well, Pro Football came out with this article, Adam Wells did, and it's pretty much, if you Google Walter Nolan, it's all out there, that reportedly drawing maturity concerns from multiple NFL scouts. Mississippi's defensive line, Walter Nolan, on-field talent is almost certainly going to make him a first-round pick in the 2025 NFL draft, but there are some questions about his maturity as he prepares to enter the league. Per ESPN Jeremy Fowler, multiple NFL scouts have expressed maturity concerns about Nolan. There was a situation at Ole Miss during 2024 season that may have raised some eyebrows. Nolan appeared to have suffered a lower body injury late in the first half of the Rebels game against Oklahoma on October 26th, and he sat out the second half. Speaking to reporters after the game, Mississippi head coach Lane Kiffin offered a cryptic response when asked if there was concerns about Nolan's health going forward. I don't know. He wasn't going back in. I actually thought he was going to go back in, and he decided he didn't want to go back in. Noted that the interview process will be a crucial to Nolan's final grade. There's rumbles. I'm going to say that there's rumbles in the Bronx that Walter Nolan is going to fall because of his attitude and because of his off the field issues, like I read to you just now. There's a lot more out there if you want to Google it. So I'm not going to be talking about Walter Nolan. He would be in my top if it wasn't for his off the field issues. And that man probably is going to fall. Out of the first, probably. Out of the second, maybe. Again, off the field stuff. So, but we're going to jump into this 5-1. Like everyone knows, got my notes here. Got my 40 times, got my arm lengths, got all that stuff. So we're going to jump into number 5. And I am talking about Darius Alexander out of Toledo. 6'4", 310 pounds. He is I almost said this one more time. He is 6'4", 310 pounds, and he ran a 4.95. He has 34-inch arms. That is very nice length for NFL. And he ran a 1.72 10-yarder. And that's kind of what you want to know. The plus is he's got that explosive first step. And that's what you want, right? Again, I played defensive line in my stint of playing football. And you want that bow. You want to hit that offensive lineman and make him like regret life and just, oh, Jesus. You want to boom, hit him hard, kind of start that first step, push him back. Again, if you're going to hit him hard, you're going to drive into him, you have to have powerful legs like Darius Alexander has. Initial first punch, again, boom. With Darius Alexander, I'm noticing everything is boom. It's like off the bat. Explosive first step, powerful legs, and powerful initial punch. He's just going to hit you and drive you. Violent clubs. And what that means is if you watch the combine or even at practice, when they have like those like dummies and they have to like bob and weave in them, but they have to like hit them. His is just, that thing is going, wow. Powerful clubs, and he's got a strong run defense and takes care of double teams. His negatives, he pops up a little too quickly. Right? When you got your hand down, you're in the 3 or 4 technique, you got your hand down, you don't want to just whoop, because you're going to get pushed on your back. You kind of want to be a little bit more like running horizontally. Just, you don't want to be too low because then you're going to get thrown down on your head. It pops up a little too quick. He also can be laid out of his stance, which means that ball's hiked. He sometimes could be the last one going. You don't want that. You kind of want a time when that ball is getting hiked when you're going after that quarterback. And his top heaviness. He can be top heavy and it can cause imbalances, either backwards or forwards. But I do like Darius Alexander. If the Dolphins go offensive lineman in the first, say Membu falls to 13, which I would do backflips, or the Dolphins trade down to like 21 with the Steelers, say Shedeur Sanders falls and the Dolphins trade down to 21 and take Gray Zabel or something. Then in the second round, they take Darius Alexander. I'm a happy camper because they focused on the trenches, and Gucci, come out of the draft now, go get yourself, Quandre Diggs or Simmons, and then go get yourself one of the corners that are out there, and you're good to go. I'd be very, very, very happy. My number 4, this guy's fast and he's big. Is he bigger than? Yeah, he's big. No, he's the same size. Inch taller, same size. That is Derrick Harmon out of Oregon. He is 6'5", 310 pounds. Another man that is that size, that ran a 4.95, 174 in the 10, and he's 34 3/8 inch arm lengths. He's got those long arms. One of the positives is those long arms, quick feet, and fast first step. And that's what you want, especially if you're going to go horizontal, if you want to, pull a stunt off. Fast hands, ripping and all that stuff. If you watch my live streams when I'm watching football and you start to see me acting a fool, talking about my swim moves and my bats and all that stuff, that's what you want. You want those fast moves. His push-pull technique and his arm over are just natural. And I talked to you guys about the push-pull technique when it came to the offensive line. That is something that was paramount with Cameron Wake, which again, you push the offensive lineman. So now what the offensive lineman is going to do is he's going to compensate and try to push towards you like, you ain't pushing me back. And then you pull him. Use his own body when you pull him down to the ground. And then the arm over technique, kind of, swim through it. And he's got a competitive, good motor. He's going to continue to keep fighting. I've seen it time and time again. Again, I'm not saying Bradley Chubb doesn't have this, but I've seen it where I've watched him and he kind of like engages and then he kind of just like waits. Like, I don't know if he's spying. I don't know if his job is to contain, but he's not ripping. He's not trying to get through. He's not trying to get around. He's kind of just like maintaining and moving the offensive lineman. His negatives, he pops up. Again, same thing with Alexander. He kind of pops up too quick. He can really get the offensive lineman, can get you right in the chest, knock you on your butt. Light lower body. Again, so hard to churn there. And he can be more violent with his clubs, right? So he's a fast guy. He's quick. He's going to get in there. He's going to get back there. He's going to be a fast, quicking motor guy. But his powerfulness needs a little bit of work. But again, Derrick Harmon, I think he's going to be end of the first guy. So again, Miami trades down to 21. I think 13 is too high for Derrick Harmon. So trade down to 21. Again, a situation where Shedeur, trade down to 21, then I'd be fine taking, Harmon or Gray Zabel or any of these guys at 21. Yeah, so I really like Derrick Harmon. Now, here was the part where I would probably put Walter Nolan in, but like I said to you guys, I ain't touching that with a 10-foot pole because of the off the field issues. Then we have a guy that I would love at 13, and I think he would be a great addition. Kind of reminds me of Christian Wilkins a little bit. That's Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. 6'3", 339 pounds. He ran a 5.13, so he's not the fastest of the pass rusher defensive lineman I have on here. It's kind of average arms, 33 and a half. You don't want to be under 33, so he's a little bit above average. He's quick for his size, right? Now, you look at the 40 and 5.13, that don't matter. That's why I keep giving you guys the 10-yard difference with the 174 and all that stuff. He's quick for his size. He's got a quick counter move mid-rush, and that's what you need. If you're doing something as a defensive lineman, whether it's you're trying to swim or you're trying to go overhead or you're trying to dip the shoulder, you're trying to bull rush, you're trying to do all these different types of things, and they're being countered, you have to be able to instantly go into something else and counter move it on the move, and he is very good at that. Active hands. He is a guy who is going to try to bat the ball down as well. Again, that kind of reminds me of Christian Wilkins. This is a guy as an offensive lineman. I sound like Mel Kiper. Here's a guy or John Madden. You want to make contact with him. Because if you don't make contact with him, he's going to get up there. He's going to try to bat that ball down, especially at 6'3". And he's got an athletic frame. So he's going to be a disruptor. His negatives, he can get too high at times. If you're noticing, that's something I've said for the past two guys that kind of pop up and they get a little too high. That's something that can be easily worked out. Erratic hands, a little too much. I was saying, mid-rush, he'll continue to do some things, but at some point he's going to be a little bit too crazy with the hands. And his first step is not always upfield. You might be asking yourself, what the crap does that mean? Sometimes his foot will go out. You always want to go your foot up. Right? You're in the 3 or the 4. And when the ball gets hiked, you want to take that first step forward. Sometimes he might take that first step out. Feet. You want to take that first step forward. Sometimes he might take that first step out. Kind of, you understand what I'm saying now? He doesn't always take the first step upfield. Sometimes he'll probably go out with it. But again, at 13, Kenneth Grant, beautiful. I've seen some people mock him going into the 20s. I've seen some big boards have him around the 20s. I would be happy with Kenneth Grant at 13. He's another guy that I think is like Christian Wilkins. And I remember when the Dolphins took Christian Wilkins, everyone was like, oh, why are we taking Christian Wilkins? And then when it was time to keep him, everyone was like, why are we keeping Christian Wilkins? I'd be happy with Kenneth Grant at 13. Here's my first pass rusher. My only pass rusher. I like this guy. That's Mike Green out of Marshall. I didn't put the dash in there. My apologies. So it looks like his name is Mike Green Marshall. No, there should be a dash in there. It should be Mike Green Marshall. There you go. I like him. He's the only pass rusher I have on here. He's my number 2 defensive lineman, 6'4", 248, ran a 4.76, a 1.59 split. Short arms, 32-inch arms. I will talk about that. Long arms for a defensive lineman, for a defensive end, but kind of short in the aspect of other things. He's balanced, explosive first step, quick lateral movement, and you want that quick lateral movement for stunts, right? That's where you see a lot of the workouts where they follow the ball and they're going left to right, left to right. That's what you want, especially with stunts where one guy goes one way, one guy goes the other way. You want that quick lateral movement. Consistently physical. Again, as a pass rusher, you want that, and he works to get clean. What does that mean? Get your hands off of me. Works to get clean. Clean him. Get off me. Get your hands off me. I'm going towards your quarterback. I'm going to kill him. Things is negative. He needs to keep his eyes up, not down. Keep him up. Keep your eye on the quarterback. See where the ball's going. See what's, because if you're keeping your eyes down and you're fighting, you have no idea what's going on. The offensive lineman's like, man, this play's over. You want to keep your eyes up. And his hands tend to get high, which can cause hands to the face mask penalties, and all that stuff. But I do like Mike Green. I don't think the Dolphins will take him. I think he might actually go before 13. I don't think he is necessarily a need for the Dolphins, having Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, and now Chop Robinson. I think defensive tackle is more of a need, especially because we only have Sealer. but I do like Mike Green, and I had to show him some love by putting him on here because I am supposedly talking about defensive linemen. My number one, this would be Abdul Carter, but like I said, he is the number one in some people's big boards overall. My number one is Mason Graham out of Michigan, 6'3", 320, ran a 4.2. Short arms. He's got a 30.5-inch arms. Those are short arms. Explosive first step. I'm getting redundant talking about these first steps. If you don't get it, you don't get it. He got that bend and flexibility, which you want out of a defensive lineman. Leverage battle. He's going to win those battles. Fast and powerful hands. I've been talking about this the whole video. Big push-pull guy. Talked about that. And he's played everywhere from the 1 to 5 technique. So he's a guy that's going to be really good. I don't see him making it out of the top 10. If he does somehow, again, this is the best part of watching the draft, is we're going to be watching like 1 to 12 and just pray that our guys don't get taken. And Mason Graham is going to be a guy that I'm just going to watch. And if he starts to fall, I'll be ecstatic. Same thing with Grant, same thing with a ton of guys. We're just going to be watching these guys and be shocked like, oh, they took so-and-so. So if you don't know yet, the 24th at 8 o'clock, I will be live for that. His negatives, like I said, below average arms, 30.5-inch arms. His rip swipes aren't effective. So again, you rip in, chapow, his swipes, all that stuff are not that effective. He has a tough time disengaging, which can be a problem. I know Jerome Baker had that problem in the beginning of his career. Once you got your hands on him, it's hard for him to get off, and you can really move him where you need to, especially in the run game. And he gets pushed to the ground a little too much. Again, that's kind of coinciding with the tough time disengaging. But he is my number one, Mason Graham. But like I said, I don't think he gets out of the top 10. And if he does, I will definitely take him at 13. Again, I'm excited. Speaking of, it came. My draft hat came. I always buy one of these for the draft, and it finally came. So I will be wearing that for the draft. It's going to be fun. If you didn't know, I live stream the first and second day. So I'll be live the 24th at 8 p.m. and I'll be live the 25th at 7 p.m. That's when day 1 and day 2 start. But comment below. Let me know your top 5 defensive line. If you have more pass rushers than yours, cool. You know more than me. Again, I don't really start on draft stuff. I don't really look at prospects until March. So comment below. Maybe I'll learn something. I'll see you tomorrow. Yes, you're getting a Saturday video from me. I will see you tomorrow. And again, shout out to BetUS TV. Go check them out. But like usual, stay classy. Fins up.